Hello, and thank you for joining us for the board meeting tonight. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. When you joined, you heard as an audience member that you are in listen-only mode. If you'd like to speak during public comment, please use the raise your hand function to do so, and I will unmute you so you could speak. The raise your hand function is shown by a hand icon on your screen. Please know your camera will remain off and your comment will be audio only. And now I will turn things over to President Grau to begin the meeting.
Okay. I call to order the regular board meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Commissioners. It's Wednesday, March 16th at 7 p.m. Would you call the roll, please? Commissioner Bendy?
Here.
Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne?
Here.
Commissioner Holting? Here. Commissioner LeDuc? Commissioner Tunnell?
Here.
Commissioner Grau? Here. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you. Would anyone like to amend, add, or delete an item to the current agenda? I don't see any. So we'll move on to public comment on non-agenda items. There's no one in the room and no one online that would give public comment. Great, thank you. Okay, approval of minutes. I move to approve the regular board meeting minutes of Thursday, February 17th, 2022, and Thursday, March 3rd, 2022. May I have a second? Thank you. Second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, report of park officials, the president. I move to cancel the Thursday, April 7th, 2022 regular board meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay. That's a roll call? Sure. Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne?
Aye.
Commissioner Holting? Yes. Commissioner LeDuc? She's here, but she's not. She's just got here, so she's not on the screen yet. So just letting everybody know. Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau? Yes. Okay, and we'll take it over to our attorney for the attorney report.
Thank you. The only thing I want to talk about tonight in the attorney report is there seems to be mass confusion across the Park District community and other units of government about the new Statement of Economic Interest. It was, they redid it. They redid those first two questions in an attempt to be more understandable and not require more information. So, and the secret sauce is buried in the definitions at the very back of the bill. And there was an unfortunate occurrence at the conference for the park districts where the attorney who spoke on this sort of freaked everybody out needlessly so. So we're not after amounts of things. We're not after all sorts of personal information or personal assets. So if you have any concerns, call me and I'll walk you through it. We're really not after anything new here. And the definition of asset excludes personal tangible property and excludes your house, things like that. So we don't have to worry about those things. So I just wanted to reassure you because we've had a number of calls from different clients across all sorts of units of government, people wanting to resign rather than deal with what they think is a super intrusive new form that wasn't intended to be that. Other than that, you know, life goes on. We're looking forward to warm weather and people recreating.
Cindy, we can't hear you.
Thank you. I think you're referring to an email I haven't opened yet. We all received an email with a new form to fill out.
Yes, it's the one due by May, the Statement of Economic Interest that every elected official has to, or appointed official has to fill out.
Kirk, when did those go out? I'm wondering if people need to look in their other junk mail or other mail.
I think it was this week.
Okay.
The clerk has been sending them out, and the Cook County clerk sent them out the last couple of weeks. Different units of government have gotten them at different times.
Okay. if you need help with that, we can, Marianne can help you find and resend if we need to, I believe. So thanks, Dirk.
Yeah, so just look for it. Okay, and we'll turn over to our executive director. Gail?
Thank you very much. It was very exciting when I went out for a walk this evening to see the playground packed at a couple of our parks. So it's really nice to see everybody out and about on a beautiful day. I wanted to thank our foundation. I had the opportunity to speak this week at their annual meeting, and they've done great work despite the again, the restrictions on them in the past year. They raised $55,600 this year, and they have their annual bike sale coming up, which is the biggest event. Drop off will be April 9th. I know that there was just a post about that, and the sale will be on April 30th. So we encourage you to go through your garage and look for your gently used bikes and bring those over to Centennial. Staff has started to really ramp up the recruiting efforts. As you can see, if you go by our larger parks, we've got signs with QR codes to connect to the jobs. We've got banners. Staff will be at the District 207 job fairs, and we've got various methods that they are about summer and other employment. We're also up to the recruiting amount for our hard to fill jobs to $500 for a current employee if they refer somebody for a hard to fill job. So that information is out as well. The only other general item I have is that didn't make the packet. We, of course, everybody knows we got the $750,000 museum grant. We also have an application in for Hinckley Park for the OSLAG grant. So when I was down in Springfield last week at the legislative event, the new director was speaking about their lack of staff. I think she said they were down by 70% in that department over time. Not down funds in terms of, the coming up for the 2023 cycle. But right now, the grant that we have in for Hinckley is in the cycle that's the 2022 cycle that was submitted in 2021. A lot of numbers. Anyway, they have announced after they told us how they were short-staffed at conference or at the legislative events that a letter went out stating that they're going to be delayed because they don't have people to review these, basically enough people to review. So they're going to announce the grant awards late summer or fall of 2022, and they don't anticipate executing until 2023, until the winter, or executing until the winter of 2022 and beginning these projects in spring of 2023. They had $48.4 million in funds for grant, 154 applications with over $48.4 million in funds requested and have $28 million available. So very, very competitive. However, at the same time, they announced they have $56 million for the next cycle. So, I would imagine there will be obviously a number of people that don't get this cycle that may, resubmit for the next one. So I just wanted to update the board on the status of that Hinckley Park OSLAG grant. And then I'd be happy to answer any other questions on my reports, HR, or public relations that you may have.
No questions? Okay, we'll move on to finance. Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent DeAngelis.
Thank you, Commissioner Tunnell. The written finance report begins on page 15 of the board packet. I would like to highlight a few things. The Government Finance Officers Association awarded the district a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2020. This was the 39th consecutive year the district received this award. Also, we were really pleased to receive the grant funds for the Nature Center project. As Gail mentioned, we had heard that they were short-staffed and processing might be delayed, but it was turned around within 2 months. So that was great to see. And I also wanted to highlight that the year-end 2021 results have been updated pending completion of the audit. Staff throughout the district worked very hard during uncertain and changing circumstances in 21, and the resulting net surplus is a testament to the great work done by the entire staff. Because we're seeing increasing costs both operationally and with capital projects, the recommendation is to transfer $665,400 to the capital fund and maintain $187,000 in operations to offset increasing expenses, including labor costs. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. Otherwise, I'll review financial performance details through February of 22 in the monthly report by funds.
Quiet group.
I'm sorry?
It's a quiet group tonight, but
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the
say.
museum grant, and thanks for all the work that went into that to the team. It's great news to have, so thank you.
Thank you. So I will move on to the monthly report by funds. On pages 17 through 21 are the updated 21 year-end reports. I just want to point out that the difference between the million net surplus in the operating fund on page 21 and the 852,400 surplus highlighted in the written report is the surplus attributable from specific taxing funds that needs to be retained for those specific purposes. So the next report beginning on page 22 is the treasurer's report, and this is for the current year. It shows our cash investment position at the end of February remains strong at 11.2 million. As we will see in the projection graph, this is better than budget projections by approximately 1.4 million. The budget estimate is determined by allocating budgeted revenues and expenses based on the prior year's experience. And the positive variance is largely attributable to camp registrations occurring in February this year instead of April in 21, as well as earlier receipt of property taxes compared to the prior year. And we also received that $225,000 grant, which contributes to that variance as well. So the monthly report by funds for February begins on page 26 of your packet. The all funds on page 26 show that through February, we are better than both budget and the prior year by $632,000 and $861,000 respectively. And as we'll see in the individual fund reports, this is largely a result of improved operations, including increased class participation compared to the restricted operations due to the pandemic last year, and as well as the earlier timing of tax receipts I mentioned. So in the general fund on page 27, you can see that impact of the earlier receipt of property taxes. We received around 300,000 more total property taxes than we had at this point in 2021. And while our expenditures of approximately 500,000 are about the same as they were last year. So it results in a 300,000 net surplus positive variance compared to the prior year. Then in the recreation fund on page 28, you can see the impact of the increased participation and the recovery from the pandemic, as total recreation revenues are 133% higher than the prior year. And then when we look at the capital fund, it's still early in the year, and we're continuing to show slower than budgeted expenditures as of February. And on the next page, the operating fund, similar to the all funds report, shows the impact of the factors I previously highlighted. Does anybody have any questions regarding the monthly report by funds?
I do.
Yes.
I was wondering, so do the projections take into account things like the rising fuel costs and also current inflation expectations?
So I have not adjusted the projections for any of the economic factors, but we'll have to continue to watch that very closely. Right now, as I mentioned, our expenses are tracking pretty closely to where they were in the prior year. But as we move forward, we will evaluate and see if we need to make any adjustments.
Okay, I was especially wondering, given the use of large vehicles by the grounds and maintenance, I was wondering if there had been any material impact.
I have not seen it yet, but we will definitely be keeping a close eye on that, as well as other expenses.
Okay, thank you.
So next on the agenda is the financial projection. So thank you, Commissioner Leduc, for that excellent segue. So I would just highlight that the projection graph on page 32 shows that by the end of April, due to the timing of camp registration and property tax receipts, we expect the cash position to track more closely to the budgeted amount. And like we just said, as we move through the year, projections will continue to be adjusted to reflect both our year-to-date experience and if we're seeing anything to adjust the forward-looking months. And that concludes my finance report.
I do just want to note that you did find out new investment vehicle. I noticed the treasury notes. That's
Thank
new
you.
for.
We have previously on occasion. It's not typical, but the rates there were improved, so we were able to take advantage of that. And now that we're getting in the bulk of the first half property tax installments, and the Fed just made their rate increase today, we will continue to look for additional investment opportunities.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. And I move to approve for payment vouchers in the total amount of $562,324.60.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, may I have a vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne?
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting? Yes. Commissioner Leduc? Yes. Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau? Yes. Thank you.
All right. And next on the agenda, I move to adopt ordinance number 22-2, an ordinance authorizing the sale of used personal property owned by the Park Ridge Park District. Do we have the discussion?
I'll second it.
Sorry about that. Now maybe we have a discussion. Is there any?
I can just let you know that IT staff identified the listed items and the methods of disposal. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that if anyone has any.
I may we have a vote.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau. Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to yield the floor to Recreation with Commissioner Bendy.
Joan, you're muted.
Microphone.
Sorry, thank you, Commissioner Tunnell. Before I turn it over to Superintendent Armour, I have a comment and a question. First, I'd like to thank the Park District for hosting AARP's free tax preparation service for many years, possibly since 2005, according to my friend who volunteers as a tax preparer. It's a wonderful service that files simple tax returns for members of the community. And my friend told me that manager Jenny Meyer has been awesome and great to work with. She's been really understanding with finding rooms for them, and she also wanted to give a shout out to the front desk staff who also helps direct guests to the correct room, always with a smile, she added. And as long as I'm on that topic, I want to put a plug in for them. They are always recruiting for new volunteers for their tax preparation. You know, the Centennial Activity Center is a really wonderful multi-purpose building with good parking and that I think people really liked for early voting. And I think our place is more user-friendly than City Hall. So my question is, are we going to be hosting early voting this June and November? Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Gail or April?
Marianne, have you gotten any update on that, or?
I was told that the city was taking care of it. No one's reached out to me or to Jenny from Cook County. It was directly from the city. The city said that they'll take care of it at this time.
Which you mean hosted? Okay.
I do have a. Oh, it's probably different. Never mind.
Oh. Okay. Might be good for November. All right. Okay, so April, what do you have for us?
My report begins on page 36. As you can see throughout, participation was better than anticipated, or that we were anticipating in the month of February. I just want to point out a few specific areas. Our fitness center membership saw 100 new members in February, so that's a lot more than we were expecting and more than we've seen in many past Februaries. And then the indoor swim lessons, they're pretty consistent to pre-pandemic numbers in February participation. We also had our spring registration, so you'll be seeing those numbers moving forward, and we've had a great response there as well. So that's all I really wanted to highlight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions throughout the report.
I just wanted to know how the Beyond the Bell open house went last night. Attendance.
Julie and I didn't have a chance to connect today. We were going back and forth.
Okay.
I didn't get.
I actually
Oh,
talked
Margaret,
to
you know? Okay, good.
They had just around 40 people, and the video is actually available on our website at the Beyond the Bell page. So if anybody missed it, they can watch the video of the recording of the meeting, of the open house. So it's on our site.
Thanks, Margaret.
Okay. So it's already up.
And I had a question how the after 6:30 at the fitness center is. Hopefully you've seen improvements.
Yes, that's actually going very smoothly from day one. We've seen a lot of parents coming with the youth, and we've also initiated a youth orientation program as well, so that the youth can sign up for approximately a 30-minute orientation with staff just to walk through the fitness center, go through etiquette, show them the equipment. We had that in past years, but that was one of the, it's just kind of fell off the radar, I think, a few years ago, and no one was signing up. So we reinitiated that and have been seeing some participation. I think on Tuesday they reported maybe 10 to 12 so far, but they are making it mandatory and it's free for current participants, I believe through the end of April, and then we'll start charging new members and future members. It's a nominal fee, but so that's been working out very well also. We've had, as far as I know, no complaints. There's still a few issues as expected here and there, but it's so far it's gone very smooth.
Good to hear.
Other questions for April? No, okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Should I pass along to Commissioner Halting for Buildings and Grounds?
Thanks, Joan. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Wolf to give the report. This used to be the fun stuff, and now it's all how much more everything costs. So it's a mixed bag.
Well, certainly there's a little bit of back and forth with my area. So we are happy though that we'll be bringing at the next meeting, at the next board meeting, the April 21st meeting, the final Main Park Playground project. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and we're very happy that the weather has improved enough that the contractor's been on site and getting some tangible work done out at Woodland. Some concrete and excavation, things like that are happening so far this week. So very happy about that. Hinkley Light replacement project is substantially complete, so we'll be ready for the ball field season. We just got a couple of fine-tuning items with that, but we're very happy that that project was completed successfully over the course of the winter. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that anybody has in my area.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah, we were just
I need
talking.
to get excited that there's no vandalism every time. Woo!
That's a first. Yeah, that's exciting.
It's actually it's the second. That's 2 months in a row.
2 months in a row. 2 months in a row. All right. Busy doing other stuff. All right. So with that, we're going to do the discussion prior to the motion, it looks like, about the JC surface.
Yeah, so on page 45 of the board packet, or 46 of the PDF if you're following along electronically, I have a memo that kind of sets up some conversation about the JC Park tennis and basketball court replacement. As we discussed briefly at the last meeting, the bids came in quite a bit over budget. And since that time, we've had a chance to, review both with our architect, and then the architect discussed the project with the contractors. We did some internal, review and discussion. We reached out to some other sources to kind of check and see, if these numbers look good, if it was a temporary spike, and just to help advise us on how to go forward. And after all of that, and after some internal discussion and some, work on identifying funding sources, we are feeling that this is probably the best price we're going to see for replacing these tennis courts. So traditionally, that would mean that we would just come to the board with a recommendation for approval. We do have that recommendation here, but when this project first started, it was several years ago, and it started off as a maintenance project for about $100,000, and now we're looking at a $500,000 replacement for these tennis courts. So we did certainly feel that it warranted some discussion before going into an approval. It's just such a much different budget point than it was. But we've traditionally at this park district looked at existing amenities and have heard feedback from the community that they want us to maintain and repair our existing amenities. And right now, that's what this existing amenity would cost, and it's been closed to the public since 2020. So With that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions and lots of discussion about this. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone does have.
Terry, before we turn it to the commissioners, I think there's a couple things of note as well, is that, as you pointed out to me, the bid is 410,000. Not that it makes it a lot easier, but we have quite a large contingency. We did that because we don't know what's underground, and some of we want to make sure we have enough. So hopefully we would not have to, spend that all, but it could go down a little bit. We also, Terry reached out to a couple of our other architect firms that we were working with. And as he said, this is what we were going to need to pay, because we thought, well, do we hold off? Is that going to help us any? And it does not appear that that will be the case. So I think that in terms of maybe a little bit of adjustment for when the original budget was done, we're dealing with a little of that, and all of the increases due to, the inflation, supply chain, et cetera. But, it's our feeling that this is something that has been closed to the public, and it's, something that it should be done, and we don't like the cost, but I don't think it's going to change much, is what we're hearing. It's only going to go up. So I just wanted to add in my 2 cents about that as well.
Can I clarify that the footprint is not changing?
That is correct. The footprint is not changing.
Okay.
We're adding one sidewalk for access just to the side of the tennis court to create an accessible route to the basketball court. So
okay.
That's the minor footprint adjustment. So.
Okay, what I'm looking at is the fee in lieu of stormwater detention, the 25,000. Mm-hmm. And I think what we've heard before is we have to pay it even if the footprint isn't changing. And I talked to somebody in the business last night who does stormwater remediation and is familiar with, I guess it's a statute or whatever it is. She suggested that perhaps the interpretation the city is using of that is not correct. So I think that's worth looking at. I know we've talked about this before, but there may have been staffing changes over there, or maybe Dirk can help us, or I think we should kick that tire.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go and reach out and have a conversation with them. We certainly have this conversation quite often with the city. It's obviously it's a frustrating fee. And I'm not sure where your conversation was based in, if it was in Park Ridge, another municipality, but each municipality sets their own fee in lieu. This is something we pay to the city. This is not something we're paying to MWRD. And every municipality has their own sets of rules, regulations, and agreements, and they vary slightly, but they're all generally the same. So this is just as it relates to the city of Park Ridge. So in this particular case, we are paying a fee because we cannot comply with the stormwater detention requirements. So.
Right. Okay. I didn't. Who's somebody else's mic's on? I didn't realize that was our unique code or whatever. But if it's based on other cities' codes, I don't know. I'll talk to her some more. She's a resident. She lives in Park Ridge. There's feedback. Somebody's got there. We'll take it offline.
Sure.
Everybody's fussing about their sound. Does anybody have any other questions about this for Terry? Terry, I assume people are saying it's not going to get cheaper over the year because they don't see the prices of all these materials coming down, and there's going to be infrastructure bill, construction, and there might even be greater demand for asphalt and construction materials. I'm just spitballing here that I just wanted to hear why people think we won't get a break by waiting.
Yeah, so it is some of those things. I mean, the comments that we heard and that we got from this was that prices have increased a bit. Some of the budget numbers, budget estimates were a little on the low side to begin with, and then we're seeing pressure for anything that's got petroleum involved with it, which there's many different parts of this, from not only the binders that's in the asphalt itself, but the transportation of all these goods and services, et cetera. So there's just a lot of different pieces of that puzzle. What we are also hearing is that these asphalt contractors apparently have a lot of work already, and that even on other projects similar in scope, our architects are seeing single bidders for project because for asphalt type projects, because they've already got enough work lined up, or they're just, it could be, I think a lot of the things you mentioned, pointed out, creates, a lot of demand for them and creates a lot of work for them, so that there's not a lot of interest for them to sharpen their pencils on projects because there's so much out there. So.
Any other questions for Terry on this?
I don't have a
Terry,
question. I just think it stinks. So it's very disappointing.
It
I
does
agree.
stink, and I think we're going to continue to see these trends throughout the year. And I'm, I really appreciate kind of the moving of the chess pieces around to pull savings from other spots into the budget to be able to make room to do some of these critical things, including this that's been closed for a while. So, and I think we're probably going to need to continue to do that. So,
Sure. Well,
Rob?
Gail and Sandra were helpful with that as well. So.
Terry, I know this project's been going on for a long time. Is there any chance that it could be broken up into doing a portion this year and another portion another year?
We could, but it's already a small project, and I don't think we would see long-term savings. I think the net effect of that would actually cost the Park District more than what we're looking at right now. So, I mean, that's a valuable question. It's already a very small scope project, which was the impact point for a few of these line items as talking through the contractors. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. Based upon prior experience and the facts presented by staff, I
Hold on
move
one
that the
second.
board.
Terry, can you turn off your microphone for a minute? Thank you.
All right, I'll try it again. Based upon prior experience and the facts presented by staff, I move that the board find that the lowest putative bidder is not a responsible bidder, and therefore that the board award the contract for the J.C. Park Tennis and Basketball Court Replacement Project, base bid and alternate number 1, to Schroeder Asphalt Services Incorporated as the lowest responsive bid from a responsible bidder, and an amount not to exceed $487,500.00, and further move to authorize and direct the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Can we have a vote? Or do we have is any more discussion? All right, now we can do a vote.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, a round of medium enthusiastic yeses, but people will be able to play tennis at JC, so that's good. All right, moving on to the Oakton driving range putting green replacement, and we heard about this during the last meeting. I move to approve Grow Turf Incorporated and the total amount of $71,570 for the design and installation of a Celebrity Greens putting green at the Oakton driving range, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or additional details on this one? Questions, details? Anybody need anything more? No, any more about getting green?
Well, I should have asked last time, and it's too late now. I just think it's interesting that we went with something that couldn't be bid on, and I don't know what a comparable. I guess there's nothing comparable. So how much we're spending more than we would if we didn't go with this unique solution.
Yeah, this was something that we talked with Manager Dolan on, and he was he was pretty insistent this is really the best out there, and it was most appropriate for our location. They've been very successful. I believe I had mentioned previously they were voted and named, one of the best, actually the best greens for this sort of application by Golf Digest. So I really think that this is a good opportunity for us to have a great amenity in our driving range, which is heavily utilized. So
I recall it was a combination of good performance as well as good durability.
correct.
So
Yes.
that
Yeah,
is
and
of
we
any
do have the
comfort.
life expectancy, I believe was a question, the life expectancy of about 15 years with this project.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Take a vote.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
All right. Roofs. So I'll go. We heard about this last meeting as well. I move to approve Anthony Roofing Tecta America LLC in the total amount of $104,845.95 for the purchase and installation of new roofing at the Hinckley Pool House, flat roof only, Solomon Cottage in the Emery Building at Prospect Park through a joint purchasing agreement with the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance under contract number 0419, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion about the roof?
So while roofs aren't exciting, at least it came in under budget.
Yeah, and there's asphalt and roof shingles. So I wonder if they have them, they made them before the supply chain, the ingredients went up.
Sure.
I know, I thought about that.
Yep.
All right. All right. Go for the vote.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
All right. Finally, the RTUs for Centennial Fitness Center, again discussed at the previous meeting. I move to approve Midwest Mechanical in an amount not to exceed $152,000 and $152,263.00 for the purchase and installation of 2 HVAC rooftop units, or RTUs, at the Centennial Fitness Center through a joint purchasing agreement with National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance under contract NCPA 02-91, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the rooftop unit that have HVAC? Am I right? All right. Let's have, especially at the gyms. Can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Aye.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
That it for today, Terry?
That's it for today. I'll have more at the next meeting.
All right. I'll be ready to read long motions. All right. I am going to turn it over to the honored Commissioner Leduc to talk about policy.
Well, thank you for making me feel special, but I have nothing to report tonight, so I will turn it over to the Honorable Commissioner Coyne for intergovernmental.
And thank you, and I will turn it right back to President Grau as I have no report.
Hot potato tonight. Okay, and I will turn it over to our Executive Director, Gail, to talk about the highlights of her year.
I wonder who I can turn it over to. No, just so before I start, I did get a message from our attorney that his power went out. So he is available by phone if we need him, but he's sitting in a dark office. I told him we can call him if he would like to leave his office if it doesn't come back on. So anyway, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to give a quick highlight, which is certainly what it is, a year that was again filled with challenges and some very exciting business coming back and a lot of great news at the Park District. So I wanted to thank the board, the entire staff, our attorney, and also the public for their patience as we dealt with a continuing year of restrictions due to the pandemic. But as we all know, we are right now out of all restrictions for the district and waiting on a few things for camp, et cetera, for freeing up more space. But it was a great year, and as you can see by the financial numbers, I'm just going to highlight a few of these items that are in the report in the board packet that starts on page, let me find it, page 52. Thank you. And continues with the strategic plan tactics, highlights that go into the strategic plan, and then the strategic plan overview for next year. As we've talked about already this evening, our financial outcome for the year 2021 turned out to be much better than expected, with a net income, projected net income of $1,008,841 in the operating fund. This is, of course, pending completion of the audit. And the adjusted, just to go through, the numbers, and when we did the budget for 2021, it was $60,855. Conservative estimate, understanding that we didn't know how the pandemic was going to affect the operations. So when we went back to do the 2022 budget, our estimate was $528,893. So we surpassed that. And, that happened due to the diligence of the team and making sure that we were still being cautious with expenses. And, with the revenues and the creativity coming in higher with the all of the offerings at the Park District. So as Superintendent D'Angelo stated, we are recommending transferring $665,454, which is higher than our proposed budget. So it will cover everything that we were doing, plus the extra that was just put toward the JC tennis courts. We are recommending using that $187,000 for labor and other cost increases. And then there's another, as Sandra said, there is dollar amounts that are allocated for special purposes funds, such as Social Security is one example, ADA fund, et cetera. What I did not put in this report, I realized, is the participation numbers that go along with these financial numbers. So between the daily admittance fees and the facilities and the programs that people register for, we served 305,980 individuals in our facilities and programs. Of course, this does not count for the people that are attending, going to the parks in the thousands, just to be in the parks, enjoying the playgrounds and ball fields, etc. So this compared to 186,562 in 2020 during the height of the pandemic. And then our more normal numbers in 2019 were 398,605. That was in 2019. So we're back up. Last year, we were back up to about 70% of participation. So those were the 2019 numbers compared to the 2021 numbers. Much higher than we were anticipating. And that, again, is due to a lot of the creativity and the virtual programs and the going back and in-person programming. I'll just keep going, and if anybody has any questions, just please let me know. Under number 2, the strategic plan, I already talked to that. Those results are in the tactic highlights attached to this report. There were a number of projects completed, but there were also some that were not. And, this is due to where I'll jump down to under the highlights of the major initiatives. The staff continued to have to spend, countless hours, and a lot of our focus was on the pandemic because of the shifting mandates that continued throughout the year, even through the first of the year in January and through, these couple months in 2022. It's hard to explain the time and attention that needed to the general public, but I know the board understands the restrictions and staff completing a lot of their other projects due to that. But we still completed a lot of the goals for 2021, and that is noted in the strategic plan tactic highlights. So I did not congratulate in the finance report, but that we did receive, Superintendent DeAngelis, we received the 39th Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That is no small feat from the Government Finance Officers Association for the 2020 CAFR. Also in 2021, we continued with the Oakton community engagement process. We had great progress picking that up after the pandemic. That was also a large focus of time. We met with the task force. Between the staff and myself, we attended 33 meetings of the public to explain the details of that project. We did surveys and hybrid polls and letters and information to the public explaining the need for that project, and then met with the board as the board knows, and the results of the efforts culminated with a board vote at the beginning of January 2022 to place that question on the November 2022 ballot. Most importantly, we oriented 3 new commissioners to the district in the spring of 2021. So that was, another very exciting time for us, and, got the commissioners, they're experts by now, of course. So got them onboarded and oriented to the district, and they didn't run away after, we told them what was involved. So thank you. Another great thing that happened in the midst of everything going on is the property becoming available at 531 Forest View. We added open space and programming space to expand, the popular nature offerings. And as we all know, we just received that grant, $750,000 to renovate that property. We also completed the Hinckley Park grant submittal and are waiting to hear on that, as we discussed earlier in the meeting. And last, but certainly not least, is the updating of the Commissioner Bylaw Manual. Thank you to Commissioner LeDuc and Executive Administrative Assistant Lucas and our attorney for assisting and working through those bylaws. It's a big project that sat and that was badly needed. And then also the finance policies were updated. I believe that's what I had to highlight, and I would be happy to answer any questions or go through anything else in that document.
I had a question about the customer service percentages.
Mhm.
that are in section 3.
Yes.
And the knowledge of staff, likeliness to recommend, and overall satisfaction.
Mhm.
Those are pretty low seemingly, but they're also in 2020 and 2021, so they're pandemic ratings.
Yes.
You know, what have those been historically? What have the ranges been for those 3 variables historically?
They've averaged around, Margaret, I'd have to look at the document to really tell, but I think they've, go ahead.
This is a Likert scale, is something that you should realize. So it goes from poor to excellent. So this is a rating of good and excellent. It doesn't, it's not average or below average or poor. So it's a scale rating. It's not like, are they likely to, or are they knowledgeable, yes or no? So they usually do hover around this percentage for good and excellent together.
Yes, and I thank you. I don't know if I put, usually we put, let's see, it does say overall satisfaction, right? So we don't give you the whole scale. We just give you the good and excellent, as Margaret said. I think we've gotten a lot of comments, that we've taken, emails over the phone and through the comment section during the pandemic that people were angry. And so it was, I would like to say it's attributed to the pandemic that it went down. We'll see next year, but they do hover around this, these percentages.
Okay.
Anything else?
Gail, were you going to go through the tactics highlights or no? Yours was just a high level, right?
Yes, mine was the high level. I can.
No, I unless anybody feels the need.
We've talked about those throughout the year, but I'm happy to go back and answer questions about any of those.
Right.
I think,
no, I just go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I was just going to mention the outdoor classroom and the community gardens were another highlight of the year in terms of completing projects. So, those were great to add to the inventory of the district.
Yeah, and I have to tell you that the Friends of the Parks did raise $55,000, but it wasn't last year. It was several years. You gave us credit earlier. It was we gave it to you.
No.
No, it is 55.
That 55,000 is actually what you guys raised last year. Because there was 13,000 in tree donations.
Yes, that's included in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things included in it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the classroom. So the classroom, it took several years to raise the 55,000 for that.
The 50, yes, that was 50.
I had a question on the strategic plan tactics highlights under the exceptional customer experiences core area and goal 2, engage community feedback. Strategy 1, survey community every 5 to 10 years. So would that be like a repeat of the survey that was done in, was it 2018? Was that the last one?
I believe 2018. Yes, that's a good memory. Yes, it was 2018. So that's we do, Margaret actually does along with the staff, the individual program surveys, and that's what we mentioned. There was 24 of those, I believe, this year. But this is that's an overall statistically valid survey that goes out that's an industry standard that they recommend every 5 to 10 years.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew what that was.
Yes.
So, and
good question.
Kind of like, okay.
Anybody else?
It looks like no.
All right.
And we have the compensation report, which we will be discussing when we go into closed session. And I also asked Gail to include the next year's or this year's strategic plan overview. So that's included in the packet as well. All right. I guess we can move on then.
All right.
All right. We'll move on to communications and correspondence.
I feel like I'm on repeat on that grant, but I just wanted to include the official letter from Illinois Department of Natural Resources on the museum grants award.
Which is a wonderful thing.
Very exciting.
And you said earlier that they signed off on that, so we can get moving on that project.
No, not yet. That was I think Superintendent DeAngelis was referring to the museum funds from the previous museum grant that we received.
Oh. I was thinking that was pretty quick. Okay.
We're anticipating fall 2022 is what Manager Minier has estimated.
Okay.
For starting that up.
Great. All right. So we'll move to closed meeting. I move to adjourn to closed session for the purposes to discuss the Executive Director's 2021 performance review and compensation, annual review of attorney services, and matters pertaining to the discipline, performance, compensation, and/or dismissal of one or more specific employees of the Park District, 2C1. We will reconvene to open session to take action on the Executive Director's performance review and compensation, and to take action, if any, on other matters discussed in closed session. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Mary Ann, will you please call the vote?
Sure. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne?
Aye.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Okay, we are back in open session. It is 9:33 p.m. and I'm going to do roll call again. I apologize for that, but Commissioner Bendy?
Here.
Commissioner Bowe? Here. Commissioner Coyne?
Here.
Commissioner Hulting?
Here.
Commissioner Leduc?
Here.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Here.
Commissioner Grau?
Here.
And I'm just making sure that the date is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. Thank you.
Okay, before I make the motion, Gail, I'm looking for you on the screen. There you are. We just want to thank you for your dedication to this district. It's been a rough year, and you've had things on your plate in addition to work, but you've worked 100%, and then in addition to that, in your spare time too, when you should have been doing other things. So we appreciate your dedication, and we know how lucky we are to have you. And someone said that you were like the Titanic.
No, not.
That is not what I. No, you are guiding us
You
through
were
the
like
Titanic.
guiding the Titanic through rough waters, right? You kept us afloat. I did not say you were like the Titanic.
Sorry, I shouldn't have gone
You're
there.
the captain of a better ship than the Titanic that didn't sleep. Like there was another ship in the same general area that didn't hit an iceberg.
Not, all right, we're not in closed session anymore.
This is the best review I've ever had.
Yeah. So thank you, Gail. So
Yes, thank you.
I am going to make a motion. I move to increase the executive director's salary retroactive to January 1st, 2022 with a 4% merit increase and a $2,000 bonus. Can I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, will you call the vote?
Thank you,
Mary Ann?
Gail.
Thank you guys very much. I greatly appreciate it. It's a pleasure to guide the ship that's not the Titanic.
We haven't voted yet, so wait.
Okay, sure.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Holting,
Yes.
Commissioner LeDuc,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes. I just want to tell you that we haven't given a bonus in the past, and we just wanted to acknowledge your adaptability, creativity, and resilience during the past year, actually 2 years. But so that is the reason that we wanted to add that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. It's my pleasure to lead the district. So thank you. I appreciate it greatly.
Great. I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail, very much.